I am Jimmy Frederick. On this edition of Cox Business Spotlight, we take a look at the Farm Bureau program, This Week in Agriculture, with Mike Dana.
One of the focal points of the Farm Bureau Federation's public relations efforts is our television program, This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. It's been on the air 27 years. I like to tell folks sometimes it's the best farm news program you've never seen. Our program airs on Cox 4. It brings us into 1.3 million households between the Baton Rouge and Lafayette market. And if you looked at where a lot of agriculture resides here in the state, it's in those Acadiana parishes. Our program covers a lot of things that sometimes even our viewers are surprised at. This is not just the state of crops. We look at consumer issues, we look at environmental issues, we look at legislative issues. We throw in a lot of times our unique bit of spice when it comes to the interesting and unique commodities we grow here in Louisiana. I tell people, you know, you better be glad that somebody's willing to get up at the crack of dawn and work till the sun sets, sometimes 6-7 days a week, to put food on our table. Agriculture provides a lot of jobs in local communities. You know, Louisiana is still very much a rural state. If you took out the city of New Orleans, you'd probably cut the population by a third. And if you looked at all the small towns across our state, the bulk of our population still resides in rural areas, and agriculture supports those communities directly. A lot of times folks in those rural communities don't realize it, but I bet they would if agriculture just suddenly went away. And a lot of times, the economics of agriculture, just because you don't farm, doesn't mean they don't impact you. Because we all know that when farmers have a bad year, food prices at the grocery store have a tendency to go up. And that impacts folks on fixed budgets. I mean, it impacts everybody because food is so affordable in this country that the minute we see something go up on the price of a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk, we're like, hey, those farmers must be getting rich. And that's not the case at all, because my good friend Congressman Charlie Melanson, who used to be the executive director of the American Sugarcane League, always said that farmers are price takers. They are not price makers. Farmers don't have any way to pass on increases in the production of their crops. The Chicago Board of Trade and the New York Mercantile Exchange and the market determine the price of a bushel of soybeans. If a farmer needs $5 a bushel to make a profit, if the price on the Chicago Board of Trade is $4.50, tough luck. You got to take $4.50. You've got to figure out ways to streamline your operation, improve your production to increase your profit margin. And we talk about those things on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. I think one of the biggest issues American agriculture and Louisiana agriculture face today is the continued production of food and fiber to feed not only our nation but the world. Less than 2% of the U.S. population are actively engaged in farming. Those 2% are farmers. Those 2% feed the other 98% of us, and a lot of consumers don't know that. A lot of young farmers in Louisiana are struggling right now because farming is a very difficult business. It takes large amounts of capital. There's an economy of scale out there. If 2% is trying to feed the other 98%, you know, gone are the days of the mule and the back 40. Farming today takes place on thousands of acres of land because it has to. A lot of times folks think, well, you know, can't we just grow it from some corporate farm someplace? 98% of all farms in the country are owned by family entities. It's not a bunch of guys sitting around a mahogany table in a corporate boardroom going, how many acres of soybeans are we going to plant this year, guys? That's not how it works. Families have formed corporations to keep up with the changing times. You know, agriculture is a business. A lot of times people don't understand that. The American farmer today has to be a plant scientist. He has to be a soil scientist. He has to be an engineer. He has to be a mechanic. He has to be a weatherman. I mean, you know, there are a lot of things out there that take place when you decide that you're going to put seed in the ground and grow it to feed a nation. I think consumers need to know about the importance of agriculture because, you know, soybean fields can be plowed under to make way for new subdivisions, but new subdivisions will never be plowed under to make way for soybeans. If we ever get to the point in this country where American farmers can no longer do their job, we are in serious, serious trouble.